At camp, we're all about leadership, but does it only apply to our staff members? Of course not. Today's episode will dive into the importance of and the how-to of building leadership skills in campers. Remember what sparked your passion for camp? UltraCamp knows it's about the people, not the paperwork. That's why they built a platform to simplify your camp management. Learn more at ultracampmanagement.com/campcode. Camp leaders, win back your time to what matters most, your campers. Bolin's comprehensive accounting, back office solutions, and tech-enabled team free up your staff to focus on your mission. Visit bolinhq.com, that's BOWLINEHQ.com, to learn more and book a free 2-hour financial diagnostic. Welcome to Camp Code, a podcast brought to you by Go Camp Pro. For us in the world of summer camp, there is nothing more important than well-researched, well-planned, well-thought-out, and well-prepared leadership training. It's at the crux of all we do. And it's how we deliver a safe, exciting, kind, supportive, growth-filled experience for our campers and their families. It's how we have our staff return year after year. It's how we make the biggest impact on the world around us. Join us today as we delve into the world of staff training, the good, the hard, and everything in between. We're in it together. Welcome everybody to another episode of Camp Code. Today we're going to be discussing building skills and leadership skills in campers. But before we do, we're going to just take a moment to introduce ourselves. So Gabrielle, could we get you to go first, please?
Yeah. Hey, everybody. My name is Gabrielle. I'm one of the camp directors of Camp Woro. Camp Woro is an all-girls camp, and we provide a positive environment for gender minorities, and my pronouns are she, her, elle.
Thanks, Gab. I'm Beth Allison, former camp director and executive director, now a camp consultant. I am a co-owner of Go Camp Pro, and my pronouns are also she, her, and elle. And as always, I have that big, true passion for intentional leadership training. So today's topic is all about building the type of program and culture at camp that helps campers build leadership skills. So we all know the benefit to camp if we can develop our own future leaders, but whether or not these campers ever become leaders at your program, camp is one of, if not the best places to try out and practice skills that can help them grow up to change the world in a positive way. So how can we go about doing this and doing it well? So Gabs, why don't I start us off today?
I'd love that.
All right. So I think being the person that I am, we first have to start with a list. I am a list person. But we need to know what leadership skills we want to teach. And then, and only then, can we develop a plan to reach those goals. So I would absolutely involve my staff in coming up with a list during training and near the beginning, but after you've done a lot of connecting time, I would put folks into prearranged groups of varying ages and stages of camp staffery. I don't know if that's a word, but I just made it up. And then ask them to discuss what skills young people need to be not only successful, but happy in their current lives and in the future. And they're likely to come up with a list of things like confidence or perseverance, grit, positive mentality, decision-making, integrity, valuing diversity, things like that. So after 5 minutes or so, send them back into those small groups after you've made these lists and ask them to decide why. Why do we need all these skills? Why are they important? And see if they can then add more to their list after that discussion. And now in a group debrief, I would ask each group for one skill. So go around the room until you've heard them all, and then ask for the why they came up with that skill. And if they miss skills that you feel are really important, I would make sure to add them to my long list. So they may miss things due to where they are and what they've been through in the last 5 years. They may miss things like how to be a team player or how to ask for help or how to admit mistakes or communication skills. But anyway, make sure you have a thorough list and put them into new groups. Again, I would decide those ahead of time so that you can ensure people are getting to know one another. And then divide up your list so that each group is only coming up with answers to a few skills on the list. And ask them to determine the how. How will you teach these skills at camp? What is it that you offer already that helps them build some of these skills? And what can you intentionally add to your program each day to help them develop into people who love to listen and collaborate and share ideas and then set them up for success? So creating this buy-in from staff happens when you involve them in the process and when you explain why it's important to your camp. So that's where I'd start. Gab, what about you?
I love that. I'm gonna take your how and I'm gonna flip it into the where.
Okay,
So
good.
you are very much a list person. I've experienced those lists and I've learned from those lists. And I'm also I'm a little bit of an experiential visual person. So I would take that list and I would go around camp with
Mm,
flags and
love it.
write, you know, go to archery and write perseverance and I on one of the flags. And then I would have them write the sentence that you would hear a staff member say to encourage perseverance at that activity. I find rock climbing, there's a lot of trust that
Hmm.
involves arts and crafts. There's a lot of maybe looking at my own work and not other people's work. So, you know, paying no mind to others, being proud of what I'm doing. Kayaking, there is internal trust, there's external trust. So I would probably give my team a bunch of flags. One color would be for the skills that they would learn from that beautiful list that Beth created, and another colored flag of sentences that we would, as staff members, would like to use to help encourage developing those skill sets in our campers.
Love it. Love it. Love it. And you're going to see in a moment that Gab and I think a lot alike. But anyway, we're
We have
going to
been doing
take,
this for a while.
we have been. It's true. We're going to take a short break and hear from our sponsors. We'll be right back. A special offer from UltraCamp for Camp Code listeners. Get ready for next season's staff recruiting with the Camp Experience Wheel, a powerful tool to prevent burnout, boost retention, and make sure your staff feels supported. Download it for free at ultracampmanagement.com/campcode. Tired of juggling multiple systems? UltraCamp offers a platform that simplifies your work by combining all aspects of camp management into one seamless solution. UltraCamp brings everything you need into one easy-to-use platform. Plan schedules and activities with just a few clicks. Easily organize, schedule, and automate your communications. Register and track campers easily. Manage payments and donations seamlessly. Get back to what you love. UltraCamp helps you spend less time on admin tasks and more time creating unforgettable camp experiences. Ready to see if UltraCamp is the perfect fit? Schedule your free, personalized demo at ultracampmanagement.com/campcode. Camp leaders, do you often find yourself bogged down with bookkeeping, accounting, and other back office tasks, taking precious time away from what matters most, your campers? Imagine a solution that frees up your staff to focus on creating impactful and memorable experiences for your campers. That's where Bolin comes in. Bolin offers comprehensive accounting back office solutions designed specifically for camps. Our tech-enabled team handles everything from payroll and bookkeeping to financial reporting, compliance, expense management, spend control, and more, allowing your staff to passionately pursue your number one purpose. With Bolin, you can streamline your camp's financial operations, reduce stress, and ensure your team is free to make a lasting impact in campers' lives. It's time to win back your time and work with a financial partner that truly understands camps. Whether you're a for-profit, not-for-profit, overnight, or day camp, Bolin has a solution for you. Visit bolinhq.com, that's BOWLINEHQ.com, to learn more and book a free 2-hour financial diagnostic. The report is yours whether you sign up or not. Let Bolin take care of your accounting needs so you can focus on what truly matters, your campers. We have discussed a few ways to encourage campers to develop leadership skills, but how do we inspire confidence and self-reliance in our campers to help them believe that they can learn these skills? I think that piece is also really important. So I've got a few of these. Number one, as we say so often at Camp Code, we need to celebrate mistakes. And the
Mhm.
funny thing about our mistakes, Gab and I are preparing a workbook for leadership team members called Leading with Purpose 50 reflective exercises in just 10 minutes a day. Did you like how I snuck that plug in there, Gabs?
I did.
Excuse me. And every time we write mistakes, our book editor changes it back to mistakes.
It does.
Mistakes, that's our thing. So being sure that you talk with your staff about the importance of admitting mistakes, having discussions with them about why people are afraid to confess that they've made one or fear trying in case they make one, and that it's our responsibility as camp staff to set the example when we make a mistake, to thank our campers when they share a mistake with us, to be very clear that we value making mistakes at camp because it means we're trying new things, that new skills take practice, and that that's how we learn. So make sure to make mistakes a part of your camp culture. Number 2 is to offer them choices. They don't often get to make their own choices, especially if they're younger. And if we're trying to teach decision making, then we need to let them practice that. So for some, making choices is easy, and for others, it's really stressful. I am not a decisive person. Making choices can be very hard for me sometimes. Offering choices also allows them time to be individuals and not just part of your larger group. Too many people afraid to make choices will just allow the group to decide, and then they're not always happy with the decision, nor are they learning to assert themselves and their likes and their preferences. And number 3 for me is set the example. So kind words, praise, keeping your word, being respectful of campers and their feelings, encouraging them to try new things and being supportive and positive. I could walk by the climbing wall anytime a cabin group was in session, and I could tell you exactly the role modeling the counselors were setting by the words of the campers. If they were encouraging their cabin mate, cheering them on, telling them they were so proud of them, letting them know it was okay not to make it to the top this time, but letting them know they made it further than last time, if there were high fives when they were belayed down and so on, I knew that these counselors were leading the charge. And number 4, which you already heard from Gab, is teach your staff how to talk to campers and why it's important. So teach them to ask questions like, what do you think? Or how would you handle it? Or what is your passion? Teach your staff key phrases that they can use when campers ask questions like, being curious is the way we learn. I love how you asked that question when you didn't know how something worked. Teach your staff about all of those important one-on-one discussions that you can have with campers walking to the beach or on your way to the dining hall. They don't have to be long conversations, but just a few words can change the direction of someone's life. Things like, I really admire how you persevered today at canoeing. You didn't, get the canoe over canoe rescue yet, but you were closer each time and you never gave up. And that's really impressive. Way to go. So my husband, Travis, still tells the story of his counselor, Ian, who took him out of his cabin during rest hour. I think he was 11 years old, and sat him on the picnic table outside the cabin. And Travis thought he was in trouble, but Ian just wanted him to know that he thought Travis would make an excellent counselor one day. Who knows what Travis would be doing with his life today if Ian McLean had not said that to him. So these tiny convos are worth their weight in gold. So teach your staff their importance, how to have them, when to have them, and give them some starting points, phrases that they can use until they get into the groove and it just comes more naturally to them. Okay, Gabs, what about you?
I love that, Beth. And I was just thinking with those sentences, starting with the list that you have, when we're, picking up a canoe, saying like, oh wow, you're really strong. That's great. But when somebody's trying to portage solo for the first time, we all know you're not getting the canoe up, and saying like, oh my goodness, you really persevered through that. That was so impressive. Having your staff members practice that during staff training, setting some time aside when they're all trying new activities, learning new activities, how to teach activities, or even when they're doing sessions and maybe they're doing some scenario-based workshops, having some time to provide that sort of positive, constructive feedback based off of the list that you were talking about at the beginning is such a wonderful way for them to practice doing that with their campers. But also, what a sneaky way to also build connections and trust with your staff members. When you do hear that from somebody else, you feel accepted, you feel seen, you feel validated. And with the group of staff that we have today, it's more important than ever to affirm the good work that they're doing one of the issues that I have with my staff members is that they don't believe that what they're doing really has a lot of worth. And so when things do go wrong, that's what really drags them down, but they don't see all of the 90% of the stuff that they've done right. And I want them to see the 90%. Okay, everybody, I know that there's some that think they do everything right and they need to be checked a little bit, but I'm talking about sort of the majority of personally my staff. And so what a wonderful way to do that. I like to look at when I'm looking for my campers, I'm looking at that 12-year-old who's going to hopefully be a staff member in 5, years from then. And I'm looking at what kind of skill sets are maybe some of my staff members missing that they need to practice that I'd already like them to have experience in when they come to me. So I've talked about this before, but there's a sense of self-talk, a sense of self-worth that's really, really helpful when a staff member is older because it gives them a little bit of confidence. And when you have some confidence, you can celebrate mistakes. So one of the things that I've spoken about, but it's worth talking about, is just I statements, teaching I statements to your campers when they're younger, when there's conflict. So when there are some issues, it's not we believe that she did this or we believe that he did that. It's I experienced it this way, and teaching that 12-year-old to do that. So by the time they are 16, 17 on your team, they're able to take accountability. They're able to express their own experiences. It helps with problem solving. But I really like to look at what are some of my staff members maybe struggling with, and what are some of the things that we can be doing better with our campers. Another example is that we've noticed that our staff members themselves are having a lot harder time keeping track of just their personal items, their schedule. I do believe in creating tools, like we do create like a little pocket counselor that has the schedule and that they refer back to it. But there seems to be some difficulty in just knowing that a knapsack can go a long way. Doing a workshop with your staff members on how to teach your campers to be independent is, I don't like this expression, but it's, what is it? 2 birds, 1 stone. I'm sure there's a better expression out there. We will come up with that, Beth, on another podcast. But it's an inception session where you're helping the counselors think ahead of time, how do I teach my campers to be more independent, to remember those items? At the same time, they're going to have to put those things into practice themselves. We don't want counselors to do everything for our campers. We want them to create a space of practice and independence. So using the things that you might be slightly frustrated with your staff, you wish that they could do better, looking how you can teach your staff to teach it to your campers is a really wonderful way of getting that message across the board. But your campers will come to you better prepared. And I'm telling you that as somebody that has experience. I've done this and I've seen it. It takes a little bit of patience, but you will see it in 4 or 5 years, how it's just going to be part of your culture and something that you don't really have to think about anymore. It's going to be part of your camp muscle memory.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. And yes, we do build upon all those skills year after year. And so if you're a first-time camp director this summer, don't panic if you don't get all of these right the first time out, because you won't. So for you, focus on the ones that are really important for you for this year, but don't expect you'll have it all down. And it does take those years to develop the way things go at camp.
But it's an investment, it really is an investment.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, put the work in now. It's like planting the seeds, right? The crop comes later.
And it's wild because I think COVID, that's what one thing COVID taught us was, out of so many lessons that it did, is that because of some of the disruption, I had to we're still learning how to teach some of those muscle memories that were part of our muscle memories because of how strong our culture was before. So I think there's an opportunity to also correct some wrongs along the way. But if you don't get discouraged, your campers are such a wonderful place to invest, and you can use your staff members to do it. And before you know it, you're going to blink and you're going to say, oh, they all know how to do this. It's quite wild. It's really satisfying in November when you're at home having a sip of tea and you're like, oh, that worked.
Good for me.
Yeah, good for me. Post-camp rested, yes.
Pat yourself on the back.
Yeah.
All right. Our final question for today's podcast. What are some of the ways that you foster leadership opportunities for campers during activities at camp? So again, this question is one I would present to my staff at training to get their input and ideas. But these are the ones that we used to offer that our staff came up with. So each cabin group could assign a leader of the day and let each camper have a day or half a day, however long your sessions are, to be the leader and the one that gets you from place to place, checks in with other people, helps makes decisions. If the group is not all in agreement, chooses the song your group will sing at campfire. Of course, these responsibilities need to be age appropriate, and all of it should be front loaded so that they understand the counselors are still the ones with the final say and will step in if necessary. You could even choose co-leaders, which could be a great way for those people who don't spend too much time together to get to know each other better. So that's one idea. Other ideas are to offer team challenges at camp. So many have color games or the Olympics or those other kind of activities that require teamwork. Another idea is to offer opportunities for campers to participate in community service projects. And again, of course, these need to be age appropriate. So these are for older campers. But we created a program called PIF, Pay It Forward. And those 15 and 16-year-olds come to camp to be involved in all kinds of projects for the week. So they do things still to this day, like visiting long-term care homes to sing or chat with the residents. They work at the food bank. They volunteer at the animal shelter in town. They build something physical that will last at camp forever, but they're doing something to pay it forward. And of course, the price reflects that, and it's a lower cost because they're actually working at camp. Number 4 for me is like offer mentorship programs. So during our girls' session, we would pair younger campers with older campers who were like their big sister, who served as mentors, sort of guiding them through some leadership opportunities and offering advice. They certainly didn't spend all week with their little sisters at all, but we built in opportunities big and small into the daily program. And number 5 would be giving you its reflection and growth, as Gab talked about. So giving your older campers leadership journals, encouraging campers to reflect on their leadership experiences through journaling, and helps them process their actions and think about what they could do better next time. You could also do group discussions with them, holding debrief sessions where campers can talk about what worked well and what could be improved. I think if we start at this age with reflection, it can help them understand the impact of their decisions and their actions before they become staff or leaders out in the community. So, my final one is allowing campers to take on small responsibilities that affect the camp community, like organizing an event or setting up a space for activities or helping with camp logistics. And these tasks help build their sense of accountability and leadership. So start small at the beginning of the session. Maybe you ask a camper to introduce the next song during campfire. And maybe later in the session, they could lead a song if they felt prepared and had you there with them. And you can just increase those levels of responsibility as the days go on. And maybe they do it as a cabin group when they're younger, or individuals right before the year they're about to be LITs or CITs. Have them participate in duties. Campers feel connected and valued when they're counted on to do age-appropriate jobs. They feel needed and they learn responsibility. So by creating a camp culture that nurtures leadership, you'll help your campers develop skills that they can carry with them far beyond the camp setting. Leadership doesn't always mean taking charge. Sometimes it's about knowing how to support others, listen actively, and collaborate as a team. So we want to teach those kinds of skills too.
I love
Gab,
that. I love
what
that.
do you think?
I'm gonna add just one more thing to that really
Yeah,
great
please.
list that you created there, Beth. I think it's something that I'm going to go with our activities. Some people have activities where they have levels at their camp, some don't.
Mhm.
For us, we have levels for more our sport activities, and then our expression activities are mostly projects. But what I would say is within the activity levels, what we've developed, and this was approximately 15 years ago, is as you get higher up in your activity, there bit by bit, there's a teaching opportunities for your levels. So you're teaching somebody that, how to hold a paddle or how to do a wet exit. And there's supervision, of course, in this opportunity for that person that has a little bit more of a skill set. But what that does is, so our campers they get to choose their activities. And so you are mixed with some younger campers and some older campers within those activities, but everybody's excited to be at that activity. And just watching, because those campers are passionate about those activities, just watching one camper passionately explain to another camper how to hold a paddle, you can see in both of those campers so much sparkle, if I may use that word.
I can picture it in my head.
Yeah, it is such a growth moment. And then it's essential afterwards for the activity head or counselor or even a CIT that's close by to give feedback to that person that taught the other camper, to say, oh, you're really, there was some patience there. She really didn't want to do her wet exit. I saw how you just said, okay, take your time. But, that was a hard one. And just providing that feedback is, I think, this is such key. As I said, I've noticed a lot of our staff members have a hard time retaining the things that they're doing well, and having somebody that's close in their age proximity or that cool camp counselor to say, hey, you did really good in taking care of that camper, just perpetuates that behavior over and over again. And then that younger camper is excited to do the same thing. And of course, we coach them a little bit beforehand, but they do know how to do this skill set. They're very good at this skill set. So all they're really practicing is how to convey that information. And it's in little bit at a time. It's not a whole hour. It's one skill set here and there, but the confidence is just passed on. So it's developed and built into our levels. If you don't have levels, much like our activities that have expressions, there's still people do have different skill sets, and you can build it into the culture that once a day, somebody gets to teach somebody this piece or that piece, and you can teach them a little bit before the activity starts. But just giving those opportunities of peer leadership, I think is so powerful. And that's what we do at camp. My last thing that I would say is, before jumping into what Beth and I just talked about, because it's so much information, is sit and think with some trusted staff members. What are you already doing at your camp that is building these leadership opportunities for your camper? And is there a way to build upon it, or is there a way to make it a little bit more explicit to the rest of your staff? Because you might be doing it almost subconsciously. And it's important to say, hey, this is what we do, and this is what we do well, and this is how we do it. So we can repeat it in different areas of our organization. So honestly, I would try to start there. Look at what you're already doing, because camps by nature are designed to build leadership within our campers because it's community-based. So look at what you already do, acknowledge it, break down those steps, and then see how you can do it in other places. And then maybe put in what Beth and I were talking about today.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay, we're ready. It's the big moment.
Oh,
recap.
Okay, everybody, guess what? Well, we would probably want to center our mission statement and start there. And then after that, we'll create a lovely list with our staff. Everybody, this list is a list that you can continuously build on. It will probably start quite vague, like leadership, trust, problem solving, but specific is terrific, as Michael Brandwein says. So break it down as much as he really does. And I live by it. There's so many opportunities at camp to provide leadership for our campers. What's important is to let our staff members know this is what we're doing here. Yes, a bullseye is important, but it's not the bullseye. It's the journey to the bullseye of what we really care about at camp. And that we have to reinforce within our staff training. Help our staff members see that we don't care about if you shot the arrow perfectly well. What we care about is the feedback that you provided to the person that was trying to shoot the arrow. While we're doing that, there's so many opportunities, such as how do we, create a culture of admitting mistakes, encouraging making choices, setting examples on leadership, letting people stand up on stage. Some of us are very good at stage presence. Some of us aren't great at stage presence, but maybe, give them a chance to do so. Campers are wonderful potential staff members in the end. And if we can invest in them while they're young, you're going to see some of those frustration pieces just dissolve away because you invested in them. But at the very least, we're just trying to make good humans going out into the world doing good things. So thanks for investing in our kids. The world thanks you.
That was a brilliant wrap up. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
And we've come to that part in the show where we can tell you how you can get involved and let us know your thoughts on this episode or any episode. Share with us, please, topics you'd like us to discuss. We have a few more for this season. Any guests you recommend that we have on the show, great leadership training tips that you have to share, we would love to hear from you. And as always, if you found our podcast to be useful, we'd love it if you could leave us a rating in your podcasting app. Gab, how can they get a hold of you if they'd like to learn more about you and what you do?
If they would like to learn more about me or just have some questions, you can message me at info@waro.com, and you can check out where I work at waro.com, OUAREAU.
Thank you. You can find out about me at gocamp.pro and email me directly at beth@gocamp.pro. And our final segment on each podcast is a best practice for leadership training. And again, we'd love to hear from you, so let us know. But this week's best practice comes from me. So I would suggest, if you're talking about building leadership skills, that you use creative group projects. This would help allow campers to take on leadership roles in organizing and executing a creative project. So fostering teamwork, problem solving, communication, and initiatives. So this is something we would use with our oldest campers. And it was something they looked forward to becoming the oldest campers so they could participate. So you get them to choose their project that requires like a mix of creativity and planning and teamwork, things like a camp talent show where they also have to do, decide on the acts, create promotional materials, put posters around camp, maybe sell tickets, organize the event schedule, handle behind the scenes logistics, lighting, sound, timing, all that kind of stuff. Maybe you do a camp newspaper or a newsletter where they get to write the article and interview other campers and staff and design the layout, all that kind of stuff. You could do an art installation or a mural. So if your camp has a space, the oldest campers can create a mural or a large-scale art installation that represents their camp experience. Maybe you could do an environmental project. Some of those things like creating a garden or building birdhouses or organizing a recycling campaign if you don't already do that. But campers work together to plan the project, assign roles, and take action. So they're learning leadership roles. You can give those out or they can decide upon them. Maybe somebody's the project manager, somebody's the creative director. Everybody likes a title. So give those out as well. Before starting that project, you definitely want to hold some brief sort of workshops, teaching those kinds of things and getting their input on delegation and effective communication and problem solving, conflict resolution, all the stuff that you do with your staff. And then you execute it. So you have a big kickoff meeting, you do some teamwork and some delegation. And of course, as staff members, you're going to do regular check-ins to see where the group is coming together to discuss progress. And then you do that final presentation. So they get to do what it is they have planned. And maybe the project leader can give a speech on behalf of the group, sort of reflecting on that leadership journey to the rest of camp. And then, of course, you have to do the debrief and the reflection. I think that would be really important to ask, how they handled things and what they might do differently next time and what they learned about leading other people. You definitely want to also encourage each camper to discuss what role they felt most comfortable in and which skills that they learned and found most useful. So for me, these kind of opportunities provides campers with real leadership opportunities, but it's a fun and creative context. And I think that the collaborative nature of the project teaches them to balance authority and teamwork and encourages them to motivate and support their peers. And the hands-on experience allows campers to learn from both successes and mistakes and fosters resilience and self-confidence. So giving campers the responsibility and creative freedom to lead and collaborate on a significant project, whatever it is at your camp, you're offering them a powerful opportunity to learn essential leadership skills while contributing to something really meaningful. And it's something that our seniors always look forward to every year. And that's my best practice. So Camp Code is part of the Go Camp Pro podcast network, and you can check out all our other podcasts, and we have many, and they're pretty fantastic, at gocamp.pro/podcast. So thank you again for joining us on our journey as we work to give our campers, staff, families, and camps the best experience possible. Thanks for the listening, friends.